Well, hey there. Good evening or good morning. And hello to all of you out there from all corners of the world. I know that we've got guests on from Korea and Japan. Hello, Michael. How are you? And literally every corner of North America, all the way down to the end of the earth there at Australia. So my greetings to you. It is a pleasure and a delight to spend this time with you. My name is Howard Olsen. I'm here in Vancouver, British Columbia on the west coast of Canada. We're about a 2.5-hour drive north from Seattle, and I am really thrilled to have this time with you this evening. My promise, my commitment to you is to make it a worthwhile investment of your time. There's going to be no selling here. This is really just about giving you a good, solid piece of education. I like to call this a financial literacy program. And this evening, or this morning, if you happen to be over in the Pacific Rim, what I want to do tonight or this morning is share with you a revolutionary gold savings program, the gold savings system we call it. And we're going to share with you how you can literally take some of your existing spending habits, turn them into savings habits, and get paid in cash and gold for doing that simply by referring or showing this with a few others. You know, I want to start with this. Come on, screen, start advancing. You know, I think if I were to say to you that the world is saddled in debt, we're drowning in it, I think we all know that's true, don't we? Our governments, our institutions, our pension plans, student loans, the world is drowning in debt. But what if you could break free of that? What if you could literally emancipate yourself from the shackles of debt and create for yourself a sound financial future? Well, if this is not just a what if, I'm going to show you how that's actually fully possible and completely achievable with a very simple program. But I want to begin with a quick rhetorical question, okay? I'm not talking about you here. I want to ask you a question. When you think about most people around the world, most Americans, or Canadians, most Koreans, Australians, do you think they have a plan to get themselves out of debt and have the ability to retire in the next 3 to 5 years if they so desire? What do you think? Yeah. Now, I've asked that question literally thousands of times, and I know the answer that comes back. So let me ask you another question. What about you? Do you have a plan to get yourself out of debt and have the ability to retire in the next 3 to 5 years? And even if you do, even if you have a plan, how is that plan working for you anyway? You know, I've asked that question literally thousands, if not tens of thousands of times, and the answer that comes back is probably very similar to what you're thinking right now. And if this is true for you, I want to share with you why that is and how we got into this mess. But more importantly, as we go through this evening, I'm going to show you how we can do something about this. Because listen, numbers never lie. They will always tell us the truth, okay? So let's just look at a couple of numbers here. Now, I took a snapshot of just typical things being purchased and consumed in a typical home in a typical week, right? Milk, bread, eggs, that kind of stuff. Do you know that a loaf of bread has gone up 959%? Movie tickets have gone up 483%. Housing in many markets are way back to the pre-2008 bubble, okay? Almost 1,100% in many markets. Postage stamps, now that's a small spend, but that's still an 800% increase. And milk has gone up 257%. So let me ask you something here. Have you seen a 250 to 1,000% increase to the real wages that you can bring home in the past decade? Man, I tell you the truth. I mean, I sure haven't. I know that I haven't. The people that I talk to haven't. And listen, I know some pretty wealthy people, and all of them admit that our dollars aren't going as far as they used to, and we're all getting pinched, right? Well, and that's exactly the problem. This is why so many people are finding it so difficult to get out of debt, to create any real meaningful savings, and to prepare a financial future for themselves that's worry-free. Because this thing called inflation that the government keeps telling us doesn't exist, oh, it's very real when you look at the real numbers and not the doctored numbers that are put out to us through the mainstream media. So I want to help us get our head wrapped around this, and I want to show you how we got here, why there's no shame in it, but more importantly, what we can actually do about it. You see, most people have a misconception about this notion of inflation. When I ask most people, you know, what do you think inflation is? Most people would tell me they think, well, it's an increase in the price of goods. And I would like to propose to you that inflation is not an increase in the price of goods. Inflation is a decrease in the purchasing power of our money. In other words, our money is worth less, so it takes more of it to buy stuff. One of the easiest examples, one of the most powerful ways and simplest ways to illustrate this is by looking at a man's suit. And I'm going to do this because I can track the price of a man's outfit over the course of 2,000 years. So we can go back and, 2,000 years ago, during the time when Jesus Christ was alive and walking around the Sea of Galilee with his 12 best friends, he called the apostles, right? We know that the suit of the day during the time of the Roman Empire, they didn't wear suits, they wore togas. It was a toga, it was a fine robe, it was a handcrafted leather belt and a pair of nice leather sandals. Now I can go into any historical or biblical text, and I know that the price of that outfit 2,000 years ago was 1 ounce of gold or 1 gold coin. Now we can fast forward up to 1960. They're not wearing togas anymore. Now they're wearing a blazer. Okay, so a gentleman's outfit would have been a jacket. Okay, so a blazer, a pair of slacks, a nice shirt, a tie, a handcrafted leather belt, and a pair of nice leather shoes. And you know what the price of that outfit was in 1960? It was about 35 bucks, which was exactly the price of gold. That complete outfit was 1 ounce of gold or 1 gold coin. Now, let's fast forward to today. Today, we're still wearing suits, and if you were to walk into any fine men's shop and get yourself a nice suit, a jacket, a pair of slacks, a nice shirt, a silk tie, a handcrafted leather belt, and a pair of nice leather shoes, do you know what the price of that entire outfit would be? Okay? Exactly, about 1,200 bucks. Well, do you know what the price of gold is today? About $1,200. So what's the price of that outfit? 1 ounce of gold or 1 gold coin. And what I would like to propose to you is that the price of that outfit hasn't changed one bit in 2,000 years. It was a gold coin 2,000 years ago. It was a gold coin 60 years ago. And it's still a gold coin today. The only thing that has changed is the value of our money. It takes more of these declining paper units to get milk, bread, and eggs than it did a decade ago. And it takes more of these declining paper units to get a suit than it did a decade ago. And therefore, it takes more of these declining paper units to get an ounce of gold than it did 12 years ago. But the price in terms of gold hasn't changed a bit. Now, maybe suits aren't your thing. What about cars? I can show you the same example using a very just another example here, all right? In 1965, when the price of gold was $35 an ounce, a brand new Mustang would have cost you 50 ounces of gold, okay? Today, 52 years later, if you only had gold, a brand new Mustang today would be the equivalent of 50 ounces of gold. The price of the car, when measured in gold, hasn't changed a bit. It's the currency which is devaluing, which is why it takes more and more and more and more of it. That's what's called a fiat currency. And I want to share with you, I want to show you how we actually got here and how this all came into being. This chart right here, this little infographic, shows us the purchasing power of the US dollar over basically a 100-year period. It starts here in 1913, and what I want to point out there is 1913 is the year that the Federal Reserve banking system was created. Now, most people believe, if I were to say the Federal Reserve, what is it? They think it's a government institution. It is not. It's not government. It's not federal. It has nothing in its reserves. It is a private corporation headquartered in Puerto Rico. Yep, not even headquartered in the United States. Headquartered offshore. Okay, 1913, they got, with the blessing of Congress, took control of the U.S. and through it, the world's financial monetary system, okay? And you can just look this up for yourself. The Federal Reserve is a private corporation that creates the money that is today the world's reserve currency. But it is a private corporation, all right? 1913, it comes into being. I want to take you down the chart here now. And well, the first thing I want to point out before I even go is just look at this. 1913, a dollar is worth a dollar. It has a full 100% of its purchasing power. But I want to take you down here to 1944. Now that's significant because 1944, World War II was coming to an end. The world was beginning to repair itself. Global trade was on the rise. All right, and so I'm just going to read this chart. This is a commemorative plaque right there at Bretton Woods, New Hampshire. In 1944, the United States government chose the Mount Washington Hotel as the site for a gathering of representatives from 44 countries. This was to be the famed Bretton Woods Monetary Conference. The conference established the World Bank and set the gold standard at $35 an ounce. It was very stable, okay? And chose the US dollar as the backbone of international exchange. In other words, made it the world's reserve currency. The reserve currency backed by gold. In other words, every US dollar, if it was said, was as good as gold, which is why the whole world agreed to use it. And this system worked pretty well for a number of years, okay? Until we get here to 1971, and the United States finds itself heavily, heavily in debt from the Vietnam War, and it's unable to pay those debts because, listen, here's the thing. When you're on a gold standard, as the United States, and through it, the rest of the world was, when you need more money, you cannot just print it at will because every dollar in circulation represents an equal amount of gold sitting in the vault against which those dollars were created. So in 1971, the United States had a huge problem. They were deeply in debt. They were on a gold standard, which means they were restricted. They could not expand the money supply. So in 1971, Richard Nixon took the United States off the gold standard, and when he did that, abandoned it and gave them the ability to print and print and print and print, and they've been doing it pretty much ever since. But it wasn't just a U.S. problem, folks, okay? Because remember, the United States dollar is the world's reserve currency, and everybody else was pegged to it. So when the United States went off the gold standard, the entire world went off the gold standard, and every nation has been pretty much printing currency ever since. This is what's called a fiat currency. A fiat currency is literally money which comes into circulation. It's money because it's decreed. The word fiat, literally translated, means it shall be. It's money by decree. Money which is backed by nothing. It's printed out of thin air and created with the click of a mouse. There's no value behind it. And the more they print, the less it's worth, and they print and they print and they print and they print. And this is why our cost of living is going through the roof, because each new unit of currency is worth less by nature of the fact that they keep expanding it. And that's what's going on here. Now, I just want to show you one quick little chart. Okay? Now, this shows us the increase in this case, just U.S. currency. But I can show you charts for every G20 nation, and it looks identical. Now, this chart starts in 1965, but we could just draw this red line all the way out to the beginning of time here. Okay? Now, we know that the United States went off the gold standard in 1971, and up until that point at Bretton Woods, the dollar was pegged to gold at $35 an ounce. So basically, from 1913 up to 1971, there was very little inflation at all, because the currency was fixed to gold and there was no expansion. 1971, they pull the gold standard, they start printing this fiat currency, and look, 71 on, this red line begins to increase. They just keep expanding the money supply. All right, that's part number one. Now, just follow along till we get to 2008. 2008, what was that? That was the last major financial crisis, right? That's when the banks that were too big to fail, they all began failing. The housing bubble began to collapse. The unsecured mortgages began collapsing, and the global financial system was in peril. So to bail them out, basically the first thing that happened, the government came along and bailed out those banks using taxpayer dollars, and then the Federal Reserve began printing money. They called it quantitative easing. We heard about QE1 and QE2 and then QE3. Well, you know what that means, quantitative easing? It's just a fancy term that means we're going to go print more money, because to say print more money would be politically unpopular, so they started the QE programs. Now, here's what I want you to see. Basically from 1913 up to 2008, there was $825 billion in circulation. And from 2008 to 2016, just 8 short years, they quadrupled the amount of this unbacked money to $4.3 trillion. They quadrupled it. If you want to know why your cost of living is going through the roof, it's because they've quadrupled the amount of money, which means they've reduced the value of all of those notes, and it's come out on us in terms of cost of living increases, because the money that we make doesn't buy as much. Does that make sense? It's our purchasing power, which has been eradicated through this just ongoing printing of money. So just to really help you wrap your head around this, I really want to take just a really good look at this word inflation one more time. I want to make sure that you get it, okay? So what is inflation? Well, inflation is the noun form of the verb to inflate. And so here on screen you can see it. The Webster definition of inflate is inflate, to increase something by a large or excessive amount. So what are some things that we can inflate? Well, first thing that comes to mind to me is a bicycle tire, right? So we get out the pump and we pump and we pump and we inflate that tire. We enlarge it by a large or excessive amount. But if we pump that pump one too many times, what happens? Boom! Your tire blows. Right? What's something else we can inflate? Well, we can inflate a birthday balloon, right? And you blow up that balloon, but I tell you what, if you give that balloon one too many breaths, what's going to happen? Boom! Off goes the balloon. Well, folks, that's exactly what they've been doing on money supply. As they continue to expand it by a larger excessive amount, they inflate it to the point where it's literally worth nothing, and then the house of cards must collapse upon itself. And I'm telling you right now, we're getting dangerously close to that point, and that's what's been going on with our money supply. Now, what most people don't understand is how money comes into existence in the first place. All right. Now, we've already established that the Federal Reserve is a private corporation. It's not government. So if the government, the Korean government, the Japanese government, Canadian government, US government, Australian government, when the government says we need more money and we want to print more money, how do they do it? These central banks are privately owned. So the government doesn't actually print it. The private bank prints it. So here's how it works. And it's critical that you understand this, because the minute you understand this, everything else makes sense. So here's what happens. The government says we want to print more money, but they don't have the printing press. The central bank has it, the private corporation. So the government issues, we've all heard about the bond market, okay? So the government issues bonds and treasury bills. Do you know what those are? What's a bond? A bond is a promise to repay in the future with interest for money loaned in today. It's basically an IOU. So the government issues bonds and treasury bills, which are promises to pay. They take those bonds and treasury bills over to the Federal Reserve or to the central bank of your country. The central bank prints the money and then loans the money to the government, which just gave it the bonds, which means that every new unit of currency created is a brand new unit of debt. Okay, so they basically borrowed this money into existence, but they've got to pay interest on it. So how do they pay the interest if they never had the money in the first place? Well, they issue more bonds against which new currency is printed, and they take that currency and they pay the debt. And this thing just spins and spins and spins. And under this scenario, in the United States alone, $1 trillion of brand new debt is created every single year. That's $3 billion of brand new debt every single day, okay? That's insane. In 2008, the global debt was sitting at $100 trillion. Today, the global debt, globally, has more than doubled to $250 trillion. Every bit of it, circulated money, debt created out of nothing, and all of us are on the hook for it. That's what's happening to our money. That's what's happened to it. All right, now we use these terms. We talk about, hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars or billions of dollars, and they're just kind of throwaway terms, right? But do we actually understand what these numbers mean? I want to help you understand this, because once you understand this together with what I've just shared with you, then really the whole thing begins to make sense. All right. So if I were to say to you $1 trillion or $1 million, like, can you conceive it? Do you even understand what it means? I would just want to play a visualization game with you. I mean, you're sitting either safely in your home or, maybe in a coffee shop somewhere, and you're watching this on a computer screen or maybe on a television screen. So I want to help you conceptualize what these numbers are. All right. So we've all heard the expression, time is money. Well, listen, I got news for you. Time is not money. Time is your most valuable resource. And with time, you employ your skills and your labor to generate money, which is the unit through which we store our economic output to spend later. Time is not money. Gold, by the way, is money, all right? But if time were money, if we could measure money in units of time, here's what it would look like, all right? So 100,000 seconds. If you took 100,000 seconds, 100,000 seconds is actually 1 day, and you can calculate this yourself. How many seconds in a day? So 100,000 seconds is 1.1 day. What's the next unit after 100,000? So we go, 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000. What's the next one? Well, it's 1,000,000. Okay, so let's play the same thing now. 1,000,000 seconds jumps to 11 days. That's a pretty significant jump. Okay, so we go from 100,000, 1 day to 11 days. What's the next one after 1,000,000? Well, we talk about billions of dollars of deficit. 1 billion seconds jumps from 11 days to 32 years. Listen, it's the same jump when we start printing all this money. All right, what's the next one after 1 billion seconds? 1 billion? What's the next one? 1 trillion. Remember, they're creating $1 trillion in new debt every year. 1 trillion is 32,000 seconds. And it's the same jump when they start creating all this artificial currency. If you want to know why our cost of living is going through the roof, it's because they're printing so much money that the value is being stripped from it because they're creating this kind of units of brand new debt. That's the problem. It's paper money. And as Voltaire, so in his wisdom, infinite wisdom, observed, paper money, fiat money, will always return to its intrinsic value of zero. Boom, off she goes. So let me ask you a question, all right? So have I established, let me ask you this. Is the concept of inflation a lot clearer now? Does it make sense to you? And do you realize that every new unit of currency that gets put into circulation is a brand new unit of debt, which means that the purchasing power, our cost of living, is only going to increase because the purchasing power of our money continues to decrease? Like, does all this make sense to you now? All right. So how do we protect ourselves from this? How do we preserve ourselves in this environment? Well, let me ask you something. So you probably live in a home or a condo, maybe an apartment somewhere. Do you have homeowners insurance? Of course you do. And what about medical insurance? Yeah, I would guess that you do. Most of us do. Pretty much all of us do. And what about if you drive a car, a motorcycle, something like that? Do you have automotive insurance? Yeah, you must. Of course you do. Well, what about money insurance? So what are you talking about, Howard? Money insurance? Well, what I'm talking about here, I'm talking about gold. All right, I am talking about gold because gold is money. Gold has always been money. And so let's look at some more numbers because, like, again, numbers never lie. They will always tell the truth. Since the Great Depression, under the central bank and Federal Reserve banking system, the dollar has lost 99% of its purchasing power, while gold, the vehicle that once backed our currency but does not anymore, has risen in value by more than 6,200%. Like, did you get this? That's a 6,200% increase. All right. We can look at it like this. If you had $100,000 worth of cash in 1932, the purchasing power of that cash today would just be $1,000 worth. In other words, here's what we're saying. It takes $100 today to buy what $1 would have bought you back then. That's a decrease in purchasing power. That's inflation, okay? We could also look at it like this. If you took that same $100,000 in 1932 and used it to acquire gold and let that gold just sit in a corner, accumulate no interest, the value of that gold today would be $6,289,308. In other words, since 1932, gold has outperformed currency by more than 6,200%. Like, is this clear? Gold is money, and it is completely liquid. You can hold it, stop inflation dead in its tracks, and liquidate it at the time that you need it and beat inflation. Does that make sense to you? You know, we talked about the Federal Reserve being a private bank. Okay, it was established in 1913. I want you to take a look at this guy here on the screen. His name is J.P. Morgan. We've all heard of J.P. Morgan, Chase Manhattan. Well, J.P. Morgan is the original J.P. Morgan. He is the founder of J.P. Morgan. He's also one of the original architects of the Federal Reserve, the private bank that controls our monetary system today. And here's what he said in 1912, 1 year before opening the Federal Reserve, his bank. He said, "Gold is money. Everything else is credit." All right, I want to look at this. What is credit? Credit is just a substitute word. It's a synonym for debt. Gold is money. Everything else is debt. And he understood that because he's the one that created the system. And even today, the central banks are buying up gold while our paper currencies are continuing to devalue. So gold is money. It's an important thing to have. You know, and I think I have a lot of conversations about gold, you know, pretty much every single day. And what I've learned is that at some deep level, I think all of us know that gold is valuable, gold is important, but we're kind of intimidated by it, right? But everything we hear and everything we read and everything we see, you know, all the experts, whether we're talking about Kiyosaki or Jim Sinclair, Mike Maloney, many, many others, Peter Schiff and James Turk and all kinds of other guys, Howard Olsen, that's me. Basically, all the experts would recommend, you know, get some of your portfolio into gold, get some of your holding, get some of your savings into gold, hold gold and hedge yourself against inflation. right? And I think we know it's true, but there's a problem with it. And the fact of the matter is, in fact, we've been circulating this statistic that 1% of the world's population owns gold. Actually, the truer statistic is 0.5%, less than 1% of the world's population own any gold. Well, why is that? Well, clearly gold is the answer, but there's a couple problems with it. First of all, it's unaffordable. This is an ounce. This is an ounce of gold right here. At today's price, it's about $1,210, $1,210 US dollars an ounce. And gold is typically sold by the ounce and denominated in US dollars. And we've already established that most people are financially strapped. So at $1,200 an ounce, most people can't afford it. They just don't have a spare $1,200 to go get an ounce at a time and create any meaningful savings out of it. Secondly, it's inaccessible to so many people. It's okay, where do I get it? Where do I find it? How do I access it? And what do I do with it? How do I keep it safe until I'm ready to use it and turn it back into currency? And third, there's another problem with it. Like, it's difficult to use in its current form. I mean, you can't just go down to the gas station or maybe the grocery store with an ounce of gold in your pocket and pull a loaf of bread off the shelf and give the clerk an ounce of gold for your next loaf of bread and expect to get change in return. Listen, the system just doesn't work this way, and it's too large an amount. I mean, if you were to walk in the grocery store with a $1,000 bill, would they give you change? Probably not. Well, it's the same thing here. So clearly, gold is the answer, but we need to get it into a more usable format. And this is what I want to introduce you tonight. And this is where we can begin to empower ourselves with this beautiful company and a magnificent product called Karatbars. So Karatbars International is a company based in Stuttgart, Germany, founded by a gentleman by the name of Howard Olsen, who in his infinite wisdom said, I want to bring gold to people of the world by producing it in smaller, more affordable quantities so that people that can't access it, can't afford it, can begin to save in it. Every single Karatbar is pure 999 gold bullion, 24 pure, the purest form of gold bullion. And it's a way for you to own, save, and use gold as a real currency. We'll talk about that in just a second. What we're really doing is we're democratizing the ownership of gold, where today only 0.5% of the world's population has any for lots of different reasons, by producing it in smaller amounts, by the gram, by the 1/10 of a gram, 2/10 of a gram, okay? Because it basically, a gram, it takes 31 grams to make an ounce. Selling it by the gram, it now becomes affordable and accessible to people all over the world. It's transactable and it's in small units. And here on screen, you see pictures of Karatbar cards, which are gram, 2.5 gram, 5 gram, and our new product, Cash Gold, which is 1/10 of a gram. All right, so I'm going to talk about, how I personally use these in just a second, and I hope you'll see the dovetail in it. But I want to talk about the product itself, because people, how do I know it's real gold? How do I know the legitimacy of this product? Every single Karatbar is produced in an LBMA good delivery accredited refinery. What does that mean? The LBMA is the London Bullion Market Association. They are the governing body that oversees the global gold trade. These are also the guys that do the audits on the refineries and accredit them to produce the purest form of bullion, which is called 4 nines or above. So what does that look like? Well, basically, if there are, let's say there's a couple hundred refineries around the world, there are a handful which sit on the LBMA good delivery list. The central banks only deal in gold produced that comes off a good delivery refinery list. Every single Karatbar comes from a good delivery refinery, which means it's instantly recognized, which means you have no hassle or headache when you try to take that gold and turn it and use it as cash, because it's an assurance to the recipient of that gold that it is as pure when you transact it as it was when you originally took delivery of it. And if you want to know what I'm talking about here, I'm just going to give you, just write this down. Go to YouTube and Google fake gold scam. There's lots of gold running around right now, which basically they're lead bars with a gold leaf on them, so they look the same, they feel the same, but they're counterfeit. Every single Karatbar is surrounded in security features that make it impossible to counterfeit it, which means you've got secure gold that you can use literally anywhere on this planet. And I've tested that myself. So, people ask now, so what are you selling? And the truth of the matter is we're not selling anything. I'm not selling anything. Whoever invited you onto this webinar is not selling anything. What we're really doing, at essence, what this is all about, Karatbars brings to the market a very simple gold savings program, and all we're doing here is showing people. So I've done it, and whoever invited you on this call has probably already done it. I opened for myself a free gold savings account. I've now taught several thousand people how to do exactly the same thing. I opened a free savings account, just like I would at a bank, except it's a gold-backed savings account. And all we're doing is taking our paper units, our paper dollars, and exchanging them for gold. Now, we understand that the value of our currency is going down because they keep printing it and because of all the debt loads and everything else, right? So basically what we do here is if an ounce of gold, or if a gram of gold, like 1 gram of gold is, let's say it's $50, 50 euros or whatever it is, I take 50 of my US dollars and I get one of these Karatbars, and all I do is I'm basically getting rid of the paper and putting it into a stable form of gold in which inflation can no longer hit it. And what do you do with your savings? Well, you save and you save and you save and you save, and you put money into your savings account, call it your rainy day fund or whatever it is you're saving for, and you simply, when you're ready to spend it, or when you've hit your savings objective, you convert that cash back into gold at the time that you need it, having turn your gold back into cash at the time that you need it, having fully hedged yourself against the ravages of inflation. And in a live seminar, like when we're doing this in front of a live audience, not that you're not live, you're live, I'm live, this is not recorded, I am recording it, but this is a live presentation. But what I would do with a live audience right now is I would just pause and I would say, listen, and I'd pull a dollar out of my pocket and I would look out to the crowd and I would say, listen, is there somebody out there that can give me 4 quarters for this thing? You know, and I'll wait a moment or two, and sure, always somebody steps forward and says, sure, I could do that. So I approach them, I give them the dollar, they give me the 4 quarters, and I look at the rest of the audience and say, what happened? Did I just buy something from him? And they go, no. Did he buy something from me? And they go, no. What happened? Well, basically exchanged your paper dollar for 4 quarters, which is metal dollar, a dollar in metal form. Exactly. That's exactly what Karatbars is all about. We take these declining, inflation-riddled currency units, give them back to the bank, and exchange it for gold. Boom, said and done. And then I look back at this guy, I look back at the guy, and I say, hey, listen, can I exchange these 4 quarters back into currency? And he says, sure, no problem. So I go over to him, I give him the 4 quarters, he hands me back the dollar, and I go, no, now I want 2 of those dollars. He said, well, yeah, why? I said, because in the time that I've been hanging on to this, that's gone down more. It now takes 2 of those to get these original 4. And then the whole audience goes, okay, I get it. So let me ask you a question. Is your cost of living going up? Is your income going up with it? And if you put $100 in the bank today and just let it sit there in a savings account, will it buy you more or buy you less 5 years from now than it will today? Probably buy you less. What if you put that money in gold? And we've now shown you how gold holds its value. It bought the Mustang, it buys the suit, it'll do what it has the same properties today. It's an inflation-proof form of money where you can sit on that, all right? And here's a great illustration. So on this screen, now I happen to be in Canada, and we got very colorful money here. So this on the left-hand side of the screen is actually a picture of a Canadian $10 bill. And on the right side of the screen is a picture of our new cash gold product, 1/10 of a gram. And at today's price, it's about $7, okay? So I like to make simple analogies. So here's the thing. I know that $10 is going to be worth less next year than it is this year because inflation is eating it. So all I'm doing is I set myself up with a savings account and I keep exchanging these $10 notes for these 1/10 of a gram notes. And the minute I turn my dollars into gold, I stop inflation dead in its tracks. It's finished. And now I hold it and I just simply wait to use it until I'm ready to use it, and then I convert it back into currency at the time that I need it, and I'm ready to go. Now, Karatbars also has a thing called the K-Exchange and Karat Pay, which actually allows you to use this. It's a payment system inside of our network, ever increasing, not only with people that are saving in gold, but with a growing list of merchants that are accepting it as a form of payment, because we all want to beat the inflation trap. We do a separate presentation on Karat Pay and K-Exchange and all the rest of that. Tonight, I just want you to understand that not only are you saving, but we also have a vehicle through which we can use it. You can use it at the grocery store, I can take it to a bullion dealer, or I can use it as a form of payment inside the Karatbars system. Now, this is critical. A couple critical things I want to share with you. I want to share with you why small denominations of gold are so critically important. All right? Again, remember, this is an ounce. It's 1,200 bucks today. It takes 31 grams to make one of these. I want to take you back to 1971. Nixon pulled the gold standard in 1971. Okay? So I want to take you back just before he did it, actually on August 15th. So let's go back to, let's say June or July of 71. In June of 1971, if you had 1 gram of gold, it would buy you 5 loaves of bread. Okay? And if you had $1, that $1 would have bought you 4 loaves of bread. And it actually makes sense because the peg on the US dollar was $1 was 35, $1 was, 1 ounce of gold was 35 bucks, but it takes 31 grams to make an ounce. So the gold has a slight edge. 1 gram, 5 loaves, $1, 4 loaves. And that, it looked like this for decades because there was a fix on the price of gold to the dollar. Remember, under the gold standard. 1971, Nixon pulls the gold peg. What does it look like today? Well, here's what it looks like today. Today, if you have 1 gram of gold, it'll get you 20 loaves of bread. But that $1 won't even get you a couple of slices. Clearly, it's gold, not paper, which is inflation-proof money. But here's the thing that I want you to get from all of this. Like, that's important. But the other thing is, if now we've given you this presentation, you say, okay, I get it. I need to get my hands on gold. And you start accumulating ounces of gold. You know what the problem with this is? When you want to turn this back into whatever currency we're using, you cannot cut this into 16 pieces so that you only use a little bit. You got to convert the entire amount. And with the way that we're printing money, and many predictions are saying that we are going to see hyperinflation. And if you don't know what that is, just go see what's going on in Venezuela right here, right now, as we're making this presentation. Venezuela's economy has been decimated with hyperinflation. Same thing has happened in Zimbabwe, and it's happening all over the world, and it is coming to us. The problem is, when hyperinflation hits, that means the prices begin, rapidly escalating. First, they start doubling every week. Then they start doubling every couple of days. And maybe they start doubling every day or every couple of hours, which means that as the prices double, the value of the gold is going up. Now, here's the problem. If you've only got ounces and you need to go out and buy something, you got to convert the entire ounce. Okay, so let's just keep it nice and simple. Let's say an ounce is 1,200 bucks. So your bullion dealer, whoever you exchange it with, is going to give you the $1,200 of currency. All right. Now you only need some milk, bread, and eggs, some perishable items. So you're not going to be able to spend the entire currency that you've been given. So let's say you spend 200 of it. That leaves you $1,000 worth of currency in your pocket that you haven't spent yet. And every minute you don't spend it, you're losing your purchasing power because hyperinflation is literally stripping it away by the hour. The beautiful thing about this little gram here, and I've got pockets of them, is that when I buy them by the gram, I still have the full purchasing power, but I don't have to convert full ounces. I can convert 1 gram at a time. And then tomorrow, another gram. Instead of doing an ounce today and then watching the value be gutted, I can do a gram, a gram. This is a basket of groceries 10 years ago, and it's a basket of groceries today. And this will be a basket of groceries tomorrow. And once I got my head wrapped around this, I just decided, man, it's grams where I need to be. And so I do have some ounces. When I look at that, a bunch of ounces, that'll be another car in the days to come. But when I look at these grams, this is my daily survivable gold, spendable gold. And that's what this is really all about. Now, here's our friend Alan Greenspan. We've all heard of him. Who is he? He's the former chairman of the Federal Reserve, the bank that started this whole mess. Funny. Here's what he says, a banker. And he says this not only today, but he actually said this while he was chairman of the Fed. He said he or she, I'm going to put in she because we're not gender specific here, he or she who owns gold owns money. In the absence of gold, there is no way to protect your savings from confiscation through inflation. Do you get that? Inflation is robbing you blind. So your hourly wage isn't going up, your annual salary isn't going up, but inflation is growing up, which means your purchasing power. Inflation is confiscating your wealth, your money, and your resources. In the absence of gold, there's no way to protect yourself from that. But when you take that cash, put it into gold, you stop it dead in its tracks. And the central banker who started all this quantitative easing tells us in his own words. So this is, in its essence, we've got a gold savings account here. We got a gold savings program. Okay, let me show you how this works. Now, I got to believe that if you're on this webinar tonight, you believe that saving money is an important thing to do. I mean, I do. We all do. Most of us are stretched, so we're not really good at saving. But, could you put aside, $50, $60 a week? Could you put aside $300 a month? Well, what if you decided to set up a savings account and just put $300 a month aside and not touch it for 20 years? At the end of 20 years, you put aside $72,000. The problem is inflation's been chipping away at it, so the purchasing power of that cash accumulated over 20 years today is only worth $56,000. Inflation has eaten $16,000 of your purchasing power. What if you took the same $300 a month and put it into a savings account, but put it into gold as opposed to currency? Well, over 20 years, you've still put aside $72,000. But as the currency is going down, the value of the gold is going up relative to it, remember? So the value of that gold today would be $236,000, or you've increased your purchasing power by $164,000. Now, these are real numbers. These are not fictitious numbers. And when you look at this and you understand that they're real, can you see the implications of this toward your retirement or your kids' education or whatever else you might be saving for? I mean, I certainly could. You know, and a little more than a decade ago, I shifted my savings. I began looking at gold, and not just looking at it, but doing something about it. And when I heard about Karatbars and small denominations where I could bring it to people that couldn't afford it, I said, man, we got a winner here, and that's why I do this. So my question to you is, how would you rather save? In this toilet paper money that's going to zero, or in a real store of value that protects its purchasing power ad infinitum over long periods of time? Well, I know what I've chosen to do. How about you? So there's my first question for you. Are you ready to start saving gold? All right, cool. Well, I tell you what, folks, if all we had was a gold savings account, a gold savings program, that would be enough for me, because helping people come to realize what I began to realize more than a decade ago, and giving them a vehicle where they can afford it, you know what, to me, that's a noble thing, and that's why I do this. But in addition to all of that, Karatbars has actually created a compensation program that makes it possible not only for you to save, but if you're willing to just share this idea with a few people, have them come and take a look. If you refer a few others, they've got a compensation program that not only inflation-proofs your future, but will actually pay you in cash and gold so you can accumulate more of it and have extra cash flow from which to save. This is the most brilliant thing that I've ever seen. So I want to show you how this works, okay? So listen, we don't make any income claims here. We use really, really conservative numbers. Now, there's a lot of people that are making a lot of money. There's some people making a little bit of money. There's a couple people that are making nothing, okay? Why? Because, well, they're probably not working the business. But you know what? It's okay. If you're saving gold and hedging yourself, that's what this is about. So we don't guarantee any results. We make every effort here to be very conservative. And in no way is Karatbars responsible for the success or failure. So I'm just going to give you a couple examples using really small conservative numbers, okay? Here's how this works. Our entire compensation program is based on a simple idea. We save money first. We can make money showing others a better inflation-proof way to save. It's just that simple. This, to me, is my pension plan. I'm banking on this, and I know that if I work this thing for the next 3 to 5 years, we're not talking get rich quick here. We're talking about building a stable base of residual income over a long period of time, all the while putting our money into gold, okay? There are two major components to the comp plan. First is monthly residual income, which simply comes from your free savings account. You save, you show others how to save. Residual income will come from that. And then there's weekly cash flow. For those that want to build a team or build a business out of this, and there's weekly cash flow that will actually give you bonuses, in many cases, really generous bonuses for turning this into a business and rewarding it. So I'm going to show you both sides of it at a really high level, okay? So here's how this works. You said, okay, I get it. Inflation's eating my money. You open up a free gold savings account. The minute you open that free account, it cost you nothing. It took a couple of minutes. Karatbars gives you your free account, and at the same time, they put you in what's called the unilevel plan, or what I like to call your personal referral box. Now here, look at this. You are sitting outside of your account because you cannot earn a referral. You can't earn a commission on your own savings. I can't on mine. You can't on yours. So you sit outside your personal referral box. And this whole thing is based on what we call 113, okay? You get one, you open one account. You begin saving, okay, a gram every week or every month on a regular interval, a regular frequency. And you simply share this with 3 other people who say, man, it's a good idea, all right? So here's how this works. You refer your first person, they go inside your personal referral box, okay? And then we take that person, we work with them and say, hey, now we're going to help you go find 3 people. Okay, we're going to work with that. You're going to work with your first referral and help them find their 3. Then we're going to go find your second person, and we're going to help that guy find his first or that gal. We're going to help that person find their 3 who all open an account and begin saving on a regular interval. And then We basically find your third person and help that one find their three. Now, not only are the ones that you referred in your personal referral box, but the ones that they referred are in your box. Now, those people, they go find their three. And then those people go find their three. And then those people go and find their three. And over time, this personal referral box of yours begins to fill with people who are saving gold on a regular basis. And at the end of the month, Karatbars calculates the total movement, and they pay you between 0.5% and 6% on not just the gold, but all goods and services, all products that move through your organization, and it didn't cost you anything. And guess what? Now, they'll pay you a commission even if you yourself didn't save any gold at all. Now, that's kind of self-defeating because you want to be protecting yourself. But this, to me, is the most amazing thing. They'll basically pay you a commission just because you have an account and you referred a couple people. Now, we don't live in a perfect world. Some are going to find 3, some are going to find 30, some are going to find none. It's okay because it's a free account and you opened it to protect your own savings in the first place. But if you refer, they'll begin to pay you. Let me show you how this works, okay? Now, we've all heard, we all heard this metaphor, this example of a penny doubled? What happens? You know, so the rhetorical question is, what would you rather have? A penny doubled every day for 30 days or $1 million? Okay, you don't have to answer. I'm going to share this with you. I want to show you the power of compounding. If you doubled a penny every single day, so you start with 1 penny, and then it doubles to 2 pennies, and then it doubles again to 4 pennies. Now watch the bottom of the screen here. I want you to see what this looks like. This is over a 30-day period. If you doubled a penny every single day, well, first you have a penny, then you have 2 pennies, then you have 4 pennies, then you have 8 pennies. All right, I'm just going to move my on-screen camera. Take a look at this here. Day 1, you got 1 penny. 2, 3. On day 7, you got 64 cents. Big deal. On day 14, well, you're at 81 bucks. Okay, not bad. Okay, day 16, $300. It starts to get really interesting here when you get down to about day 19 and day 21. Look at this. At day 19, a penny doubling every day, it all of a sudden jumps to $2,621. Day 21, it's at $10,000. Day 23, $41,000. Now, what I'm not saying to you is that Karatbars business is going to generate for you $10,000 on your 21st day. I'm showing you the magic of compounding. I want to show you what this looks like in real numbers, though, okay? By the way, we get all the way to the bottom here. So day 23, $41,000. By the time you get to your 30th day of compounding, you're at $5,300,000. It's incredible. All right, that's the power of compounding. The Karatbars compensation program harnesses the same principle of compounding. So let me show you how it works. We call this 113. You get open 1 account. Get yourself a business package if you want to employ the business side of it. Save 1 gram of gold per frequency of time. We call that a period here, okay? So whether it's every week or every month, but would you commit to making some savings? And then let's share this with 3 other people who do the same thing. So here's how this works. Whether we're talking about weeks or months, you can work that out for yourself. So period 1, you opened your account, okay? And during that first period, you referred 3 people. You earned nothing in commission, but you put a gram of gold into your account and you've inflation-proofed yourself. Period 2, those 3 found 3. You got 12 people in your organization now. You've made $4 in commission. In addition to that, you got 2 grams of gold in your account because you've saved it. Period 3, 39 people in your group. Okay, and by the way, these are conservative numbers. $13 in commission if they're saving gold, no big deal. 3 grams of gold in your account. Week 4, okay, nothing happened. Just like that penny doubled thing. But look what happens. Week 5. Okay, or period 5. Now you're at 119 commissions. If the system is beginning to pay for your gold, so you're actually getting gold from the system, income from the system. You've saved 5 grams. The system is giving you at 1.8 grams, so you got 6.82. Let's just go down to week 8, period 8 here. You got 9,000 people in your group, $3,000 in commissions. 8 grams of gold went into the account, plus gold paid for from the system. You got 57 grams, way more than an ounce, and cash and gold. Now, this is, again, a very simple illustrative example, but it shows you the power of compounding and how this works. And by the way, none of this costs you anything because all you're doing is moving your cash into gold, inflation-proofing it, and then sharing the idea with others. And as you do that, the system begins compensating you for simply sharing it with others. Now, The second part of our comp plan is called the dual team affiliate system. And here, this is for serious business builders. This is for people that really want to build a business out of this. And it's going to give you 2 more income streams on top of that. And all those people that went in your personal referral box, same people, we just build 2 teams out of them now. And so it requires that you get one of our business packages. And so people get hung up on this word package. What's a package? It's a business license. We got 4 of them. There's a bronze, a silver, and a gold license. The license that you choose, or the package that you choose, determines the additional income or bonuses that you earn in this dual team system. I'm not going to do a deep dive on it. I got plenty of videos floating around on that. I just want you to understand that this is a bonus in addition to everything else. And the purpose of it is it helps you really accelerate your savings, accelerate your cash flow, so you got more from which to save. All right. It works in conjunction with the unilevel system. It helps you get your gold paid for faster. It helps you accumulate more gold through this system, and it helps more people earn gold. So here's how this works. Okay. Remember, you referred somebody, you go in your personal referral box. Well, in the dual team, you've only got 2 teams. So the same person also goes in your dual team. In this case, they go to your left team. You refer a second one, they go on in your box plus your right team. You get third person, it goes into both systems. Now, these people begin referring. So both of these systems are working together, both of these systems generating people. And as the units and as the gold and packages and everything else are moving, the dual team system begins to kick out what are called cycle bonuses. And the operative word here is it's a bonus. And those bonuses can be incredibly generous. I'm not going to do a deep dive on it here. Like, again, all that has been in other videos and other presentations. I just want you to understand that there are 7 compensation models, 2 basic accounts, residual income that comes with your free account, this dual team system that really supercharges it when you become a business builder. All right. And all of it is basically self-directed. In addition to that, Karatbars helps you in your gold savings. Commissions earned get deposited onto a prepaid MasterCard, which you can use basically either like a credit card or use it as an ATM machine to extract the cash. It's a very simple payment mechanism. But as you're earning commissions, Karatbars also begins to allocate gold into your account. At 200 euros in commission, a gram of gold goes into your account. When you get to 4,000 euros, 4 grams of gold goes into your account. So not only the gold that you're putting in because you're exchanging paper for gold, but the compensation plan is also doing it. Cash and gold paid for by the system every single week. It's incredible. And what I love about this, there's no spending. We're not spending any money here. I'm basically taking money that I have and putting it into gold. Okay? I'm not building a garage full of weight loss products or diet pills or jungle juice or stuff I got to smear on my skin. None of that. Basically, I would take a garage full of gold any day of the week, and I hope you understand why I just said that, all right? No spending, no storing, no inventory, just saving money, creating wealth, protecting that wealth, and then getting paid to share it with others. That's what this is all about. Our business model is really simple. Again, it's 113, a very simple business plan, 3 simple steps that will help you save money, accumulate real, genuine wealth, perhaps for the first time in your life, and protect and preserve your purchasing power. Step number 1, would you open up your free savings account? It's just that simple. It takes a couple of minutes, and there's no cost to do it. Step number 2, start saving. Now, I say a gram of gold a week. Some people in our group, they say a gram a month. Listen, do what you can as often as you can, but would you commit to saving and moving it out of paper and getting into gold, because that's the only place you're actually going to be protected, okay? And step number 3, listen, pick a package, begin referring, and we do training programs. We'll work with you, coach you, mentor you, and teach you how to do this. And then you can invite them out to a live program or simply to this webinar. And that's why we do this webinar. So you have a safe, convenient place to invite your guests and your prospects to come and learn what you've learned. We'll present, we'll help you have a conversation, we'll help answer those questions for your guests, and together we can build a very robust business using this 113 personal referring, only because we found a better inflation-proof way to save. This is Harold Zeitz. He's the CEO of the company, and when he started this company, and I've met him now 3 times. I've been to Germany 3 times. He said, you know, it's my goal that with this company, Karatbars, we will help millions of people around the world find true financial freedom and escape the current system of debt and get into financial wholeness. And I tell you, he genuinely, sincerely means it. We're doing it. We're on a quest. So come and join us. Behold the power of gold, because what we're doing here is literally inflation-proofing the world, preparing the people 1 gram at a time, creating a debt-free, a debt-free, financially secure society, beginning with you, all the people we haven't met yet, and of course, also with me. So with that, I want to say thank you for joining me here tonight. You'll note that there's a chat box here, and if any of you have